Snow dusted the front porch of Loretta Mallory's colonial estate like powdered sugar on a poisoned cake. Inside, the parlor glowed with warm light and clinking crystal. A fire crackled behind a wrought iron grate, and faint strains of piano music trickled from the speakers. Champagne flutes raised, laughter rang. On the surface, it was the perfect Christmas Eve. Drayden Vale stood near the hearth in a deep navy dress, watching her daughter Ivy, clutching a painting wrapped in gold ribbon. Tiny fingers passed the drawing to Loretta. The old woman took it with an icy smile. Then, loud enough to silence the room, "Children from Mommy's cheating don't get to call me Grandma." Ivy blinked. The fire dimmed in her eyes before her lips could form a question. Sheridan turned her gaze to the garland, pretending not to hear. Thomas sipped his drink. Glasses clinked again, but no one met Drayden's eyes. She didn't just deny blood, Drayden thought. She rewrote it. She crouched and scooped Ivy into her arms. Her voice was steady, clear. "We're not leaving, we're standing." The champagne lost its sparkle. Later that evening, the family gathered around the massive tree. Torn wrapping paper scattered like debris from a social war. Drayden sat beside Ivy, her hands tensing around a hot cocoa mug. Ivy opened her gift, a broken doll, taped awkwardly, wrapped in wrinkled grocery store paper. Across the room, Bella tore through the glimmering foil of a custom jewelry kit. A tag dangled from it, "To my precious legacy." Ivy looked up, lip trembling. "Mommy, did I do something bad?" Drayden leaned in, voice low, hands trembling only slightly. "No gift defines your worth, baby. People do." She forced a smile. Inside, her heart was splitting down the middle. What they gave her wasn't a toy, she thought. It was a message. "You don't belong here." She wanted to scream. Instead, she folded the torn ribbon into her coat pocket and kissed Ivy's forehead. The kitchen clock ticked toward 10:45 p.m. Most guests had gone. The air held a dense, unsaid charge. Drayden found Collier pouring brandy, alone in the kitchen. "She humiliated your daughter," she said, her voice low but sharp. "She has reasons you don't understand," he replied, swirling the glass. Drayden's voice was now razor-thin. "A man who won't stand for his child is already on his knees." He didn't flinch. Instead, he pulled out an envelope and tossed it on the counter. Inside, a prenuptial agreement and signed, still binding. Loretta held the deed to the house, his silence a condition of her continued financial support. Flash, 2014. Hospital hallway. Loretta's gloved hand handing Drayden a check to pay off student loans. "Consider it a family investment. Quiet is golden." Drayden's knuckles whitened. "How many times did I sell my piece for the illusion of family?" she thought. The glass shattered in the sink. He didn't apologize. Brunch the next morning. Crystal pitchers, golden butter, linen napkins. Ivy's drawing sat on the mantel. Her and Loretta, hand in hand. Loretta passed by, paused, smirked. "Sentiment doesn't erase sin." She picked up the drawing and tossed it into the fireplace. Gasps. Flames licked the paper. Ivy screamed, a sound too raw for the silk-draped room. Drayden didn't blink. She watched the colors curl into smoke. "Even ashes tell the truth," she whispered. The room held its breath. Sheridan lifted her phone, subtly, deliberately. She was filming. Why? Loretta turned and walked out. No one followed. Drayden stared into the fire. Ivy sobbed quietly into her lap. You just drew your own line in the sand, she whispered, too soft for anyone but herself to hear. That night, Drayden tucked Ivy into bed. The nightlight painted soft stars across the ceiling. Does love have a password? Ivy asked. Can it be changed if you forget? Drayden's hand froze on the blanket. She kissed Ivy's temple, walked down the hall, opened Collier's laptop. The shared password still worked. Bank accounts, trust fund, new documents. She clicked through. Ivy's name was gone. Transferee, Bella Sinclair. Trust guardian, Loretta Mallory. A fresh document, time-stamped 3 days ago. She stared at the screen. Her jaw tightened. Firelight flickered from the hearth behind her. She opened a new tab, typed without hesitation. Lawyer. Emergency. Family. Trust violation. Connecticut. The search bar spun. An email pinged back within seconds. Avellini Hart, you're not crazy. The mail arrived just after breakfast, the kind that comes in silence, carried by boots crunching snow on the porch. Ivy was making snow angels near the steps, her laughter light unaware. Drayden opened the envelope with cautious fingers. Certified. From Loretta's attorney. The first line hit like frostbite. Official notice of eviction. 30 days to vacate. Loretta had invoked her rights as co-owner. Collier's name had vanished from every joint account. Child support? Frozen. Drayden's phone buzzed, an automated alert from the bank. Ivy looked up, concern blooming in her young face. Mommy, are we being punished? Drayden didn't answer right away. Her eyes scanned the letter again, burning the lines into memory. I used to believe silence was strength, she thought. But silence now means surrender. Inside, she packed Ivy's suitcase, not because they were leaving, but because they wouldn't. She laid it on the stairs. Tick, tick, tick. Ivy sat at the top step watching. Midnight. The only light in the house came from Drayden's laptop screen. She searched Connecticut tenant protection statutes, half reading through a blur of legalese. Her inbox pinged. Subject, know your place. Attached was a photo, blurry but unmistakable. Ivy, crying in the back seat of Drayden's car, taken from outside through tinted glass. Metadata said 3:17 p.m., school pickup. Someone had been watching them. She checked the school's volunteer list. Melanie, Collier's cousin. She volunteered weekly. Drayden picked up the phone, dialed Avellini. This isn't just about money anymore, she said. It's about control. Avellini's voice was calm but clipped. If Loretta builds a case for instability, unauthorized housing, emotional distress, you could face a custody review. The screen faded to black. Drayden's reflection stared back at her. Hartford, the next morning. Pediatric clinic. Drayden requested Ivy's full medical file as the legal parent. She waited. The printout came, thin too thin. Missing incident. October, a minor allergic reaction. She asked the nurse, wasn't there an issue in fall? The nurse hesitated. There was, but the grandmother filed a privacy override. She had notarized consent. Drayden's voice sliced the air. Since when does being a grandmother override being a mother? The doctor entered, clearly uncomfortable. She claimed you were unreachable during travel. The file was adjusted under special circumstances. Her phone rang. Avellini. If they argue medical negligence, she said, you're walking into a trap. Drayden's grip on the folder tightened. Behind concern, cruelty whispered. Outside the courthouse parking lot, the air was sharp, Sheridan appeared, almost casually. "Drayden," she smiled, pretending to bump into her. "Weird seeing you here." Her phone slipped from her coat pocket, hit the pavement. Sheridan bent, picked it up and handed it back. No goodbye. No explanation. The phone buzzed. New file. An audio clip already rolling. Voices: Loretta, Melanie. She's not his. She's not ours. Once she's out, we reset everything. Drayden leaned against a cold brick wall, shaking. "They don't just want me gone," she whispered. "They want her gone." A text followed. "Sheridan, you didn't get this from me." Drayden stared at the sky. The stars looked like broken glass. She let Sheridan walk away. Not weakness, strategy. Later that night, with Ivy asleep, snow frosting the window panes, Drayden opened a fresh folder on her laptop. Title: Vale vs. Mallory. She uploaded documents, photos, emails, bank trails, each one layered with silence, now given voice. "You don't have to burn down a house to prove it's yours," she murmured. "Sometimes you just need to show the deed." She called Avellini. "I don't want revenge," she said. "I want a future where my daughter doesn't grow up apologizing for existing." Avellini's voice softened. "Then we move forward." To the audience, would you draw the line too if it meant saving your child from a lifetime of silence? The next morning, Ivy padded into the kitchen, clutching a drawing. "Look, Mommy, it's us, in our new house, with curtains I picked." Drayden smiled, heartbreaking and rebuilding in the same beat. A package arrived at the door. No label, just a flash drive inside. She slid it into the laptop. One folder. Trust Amendment 2021. Drayden opened it. The screen went white. She stared, then whispered, "This changes everything." She picked up her phone. "Avellini," she said, voice steel. "I found the original trust, and it's not what they said it was." On the other end, Avellini didn't miss a beat. "Then it's time to bring in someone they don't control." The morning arrived in a hush, the kind that makes the world feel paused. Frost clung to the windows of the small apartment, and for a moment, the silence felt almost merciful. Ivy was still asleep, her breath soft through the cracked bedroom door. The FedEx packet sat on the table like an accusation. I opened it with the same steadiness I used when handling evidence for courtroom filing. Carefully, precisely, a certified copy of the original trust, the amendment, a notary seal that shouldn't have been there and one that should. I read each line, each clause, each date. The 2019 revision, void. Improperly signed. The original trust, binding. And with Collier's financial default, guardianship and full ownership defaulted to me. For a moment, I forgot to breathe. My fingers hovered over the page. The truth didn't shout. It simply existed, immovable. The truth doesn't need volume, I whispered to the quiet room. It just needs to stand. I dialed Avellini. She answered on the second ring. "It's real," I said. "The amendment was forged." She exhaled sharply. "That means you hold the leverage now, not them." The heat in my chest was not anger. It was clarity, sharp, absolute. Ivy stirred behind me. Snowflakes drifted down outside. It felt like the world was preparing itself. Tonight, the reckoning would come. By noon, I had the motel room table covered in neatly organized stacks. Bank statements proving the freezes, email logs, screenshots of the anonymous threats, the audio clip Sheridan had accidentally given me. I photographed everything twice, saved copies to a cloud folder only I could access. On the motel desk pad, I drafted a letter addressed to an investigative journalist known for exposing family trust fraud cases. I kept the tone steady, factual. No rage, no embellishment, just truth. I wrote in my journal beside it, "Justice isn't a fist. It's a light. Even a small one breaks darkness." I brushed Ivy's hair before nap time, letting my palm rest on her head. "You are love," I told her softly. "Not a mistake. Not an accident. Not something anyone can erase." She nodded sleepily. "Because I'm yours." "Because you're you," I said. Outside the motel window, neon flickered. Inside, my resolve crystallized. Tonight, they'd face the truth they spent years burying. Loretta called it a holiday compromise dinner, the kind of event meant to look civil from the outside. The Mallory estate glowed with warm lights, wreaths hung with military precision. We walked in, me holding Ivy's hand, Ivy clutching her little drawing. Sheridan stood near the mantel, face pale. Collier lingered behind Loretta, like a shadow afraid of its source. Loretta smiled, too wide, too gracious. "I think we should put all ugliness behind us," she said, reaching for Ivy's cheek as though the past weeks hadn't happened. I stepped between them. Calm. Controlled. "I didn't come for reconciliation," I said. "I came for truth." From my bag, I drew the sealed envelope, the certified copy of the original trust, notarized, dated, undeniable. I placed it in Collier's hands. His fingers trembled. "Everyone here has had an opinion about my daughter," I said, voice even. "Tonight, we let the law speak for her." Eyes in the room darted. Sheridan, rigid. Melanie, flushed. Loretta, a mask cracking at the edges. I read aloud the key clauses, the ones that dismantled every lie they'd leaned on. Article 4. In the event of beneficiary default or spousal abandonment, guardianship and property rights revert to the custodial parent. No contest permitted. Murmurs rippled. Someone dropped a fork. Sheridan swallowed hard. Collier took a step back, color draining from his face. "I didn't know," he whispered. "You didn't want to," I replied. Loretta's composed smile collapsed entirely. Her jaw tightened. Her breath sharpened. This was the moment she feared. Truth replacing reputation. The estate was quieter the next morning. Snow drifted past windows like falling confessions. Loretta found me in the foyer, her anger simmering under a brittle calm. "You think a piece of paper makes you a mother," she snapped. "You think a house makes you whole." I faced her gently. "A mother protects. A home isn't walls, it's safety." Her eyes flashed, but behind the fury was something empty, something collapsing under its own weight. Sheridan passed by, eyes down, clutching her coat. She paused only long enough to look at Ivy with quiet apology before slipping out the door. Collier stood in the hallway, hands shaking. The truth finally undeniable. "I never meant for it to go this far," he said. "That's the thing about harm," I answered. "Intent doesn't erase impact." I lifted Ivy into my arms. She wrapped her little arms around my neck, her drawing peeking from her backpack. "We have our own kind of Christmas now," I told her softly. "One built on truth, not pretending." We stepped into the cold air. Snow crunched beneath our boots. Behind us, the estate loomed, hollow, heavy, no longer ours to fear. Our new apartment was small but warm, the kind of place where light found corners instead of being swallowed by them. Ivy fell asleep holding her teddy bear, her breathing steady and safe. I stood by the window, watching the snow melt in slow streaks. "I lost a house," I whispered, "but I gained a soul. Some people call that a loss. I call it freedom. My phone buzzed. A message from the lawyer. Confirmation that the trust transfer was processed. Loretta's name removed. My rights secured. I closed my eyes. Not triumph. Not spite. Just peace. The kind earned through endurance, not force. In her sleep, Ivy murmured, Mommy will love last when snow melts. I knelt beside her, brushing a curl from her forehead. Yes, baby, I whispered, because real love doesn't melt. It roots. Her breathing deepened, steady as the quiet night. And for the first time in a long time, so did mine.